Howdy and welcome to Hunters Connect. My name is Tony Shonin. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Boone and Crockett Club. The initial efforts of the club are obviously focused on bringing species back to sustainable populations. They accomplished that. Our wildlife populations, our turkeys, our elk, our whitetail, our mule deer, for the most part are in better shape than they've ever been. So the club's focus turned to management of those species and also ensuring that our hunting heritage continues. Today, we are very active in Washington, D.C. We have boots on the ground folks there that work on Capitol Hill and with our federal agencies on a continuing basis, basically addressing the same things the initial club addressed in the first place: habitat health, wildlife health, and public access to public lands. And just to take one, for example, under habitat health would be wildfires. We have had an immense amount of our public land burn up in intense fires that are basically a result of lack of forest management. So the club has taken it upon itself to work with our partners and try to negotiate ways that we can solve that problem. And we did get, in 2018, a fire funding bill went through Congress that basically put these wildfires under the same category as a hurricane or something like that is paid for someplace else other than the U.S. Forest Service, which was spending their 52% of their budget on wildfire suppression, and allowing them then to take that money and put it back into forest management instead, where it should be going. So that's an example. Another example under wildlife health is chronic wasting disease, which is now spread to 26 states. This is a big deal. We don't know how dangerous it is to humans because nobody really knows anything about it. There's research that needs to be done. There's policy that needs to be enacted because they need money for that research. And we worked on a bill just last year, the American Conservation Enhancement Act, that will provide funding to states for monitoring the disease and the spread of the disease. The other thing that we worked on hard was public access. And the Great American Outdoors Act became law in August of 2020. That act basically did two things. One was it helped provide funding for the backlog of infrastructure problems that we have on our public lands, specifically national parks. And the other thing that it did is it permanently authorized and funded the Land and Water Conservation Fund. That's a critical fund because that money goes back to states for public access and for habitat acquisition and habitat restoration and projects like that that are so critical to making sure that our public land is healthy and that people can enjoy it. One of the things that is the strength of the club today is we don't have chapter events. We don't have, we're very much self-funded, or I should say pretty much self-funded. So we don't have an axe to grind with any other group. We work as a facilitator to bring all of our outdoor groups, all of our sportsman's-based groups together. And in 2000, we did just that. At that point in time, conservation was being kind of diluted because there was a lot of groups with a lot of different agendas. So we had a meeting of 17 groups. We basically brought them in, told them, leave your agenda at the door, and threw the key away. And 3 days later, they popped back out with a plan to work together on common areas of interest. That coalition is called the American Wildlife Conservation Partners. And it's all sportsman's-based groups. It has grown today to 45 organizations that represent 8 million votes. And that is probably one of the largest voices for conservation that exists now in Washington, D.C. When a letter hits the desk of a senator or a congressman that has all these groups signed onto it, they pay attention. All this work goes on, but it all is reliant on the fact that we have hunting and we have people that like to hunt and people that want to hunt, because that's the foundation. If you don't have those guys out there in the field, none of this matters. It can't get done. There's no revenue coming in. There's no money going out. So the average hunter really is what makes the world go round. So our founder, Theodore Roosevelt, once said that there's no more important thing in our country than conservation. The Boone and Crockett Club started out in wildlife health and habitat health and in public access to public lands through policy, education, and our records program. And we continue to do that today. It's important work, it's good work, and it needs to continue. And we can always use a hand. I'm Tony Shonin, Chief Executive Officer of the Boone and Crockett Club, and thank you for watching Hunters Connect.